There are some lies in our science books. Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like to study. There's so many neat things to learn. We're going to cover some of that tonight.
Perception is being managed. We are being steered and guided by a hidden hand.
The whole world has been duped by the media that is not real.
Smart thinking, possible time traveler, smart thinking.
That night, boom, contact memory.
And then just, Alex, if you don't agree, you'll be sent to a re-education camp.
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I've lost my touch with the ladies.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why?
Now, experts are suggesting that we're in a golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Now, why is that?
I was, and still am, a huge conspiracy guy. I literally ran out of new tin hat topics to research.
It was most definitely not capable of melting steel.
Then I would be a crackpot if I thought that was the case.
Thought that was the case.
Welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name is Luke.
I'm Salty.
I'm Cam.
I'm so sorry.
Gentlemen, how are we? Are we in a little bit of a silly mood? Am I dealing with a couple of silly billies here?
Someone's introduced sound effects into the podcast. And yeah.
Salty's got a sound effects set up, but they're like morning zoo sound effects.
Yeah. What are some conspiratorial ones I can have?
An alien abduction noise.
Yeah, that woo.
Oh yeah.
Or the X-Files like dee.
Oh yeah.
It's cool. The roar of a Gippsland panther.
Roar of a Gippsland panther.
Alex Jones saying something fucked.
Alex Jones saying something. The bees from the haunted house in New South Wales.
Yep. Just like the quiet of the Gippsland dark. Like just a sound effect that's just silence.
Yep.
PK just, I don't know, telling someone they're all fucked.
Yeah. Or like being like, look, I've got an Adam's apple. I'm a bloke.
All right, so next episode. Look forward to that, listeners. But in case of this episode, what is on the docket?
We're going to try and talk about the plot to steal the election a little bit further.
Yep.
And we're also going to, what's the actual thing called? Star jelly.
Star jelly.
Yeah.
So I've written down space cum.
Oh my God. Oh, this show sucks.
So we're going to talk about
especially like
now, listener, I don't know how much of this Robbo will leave in the edit, but see if you can guess.
Oh, I'm editing this, Cam. Oh, that sucks. Oh, it sucks that I'm editing this, Cam.
See if you can guess who's drunk right now. It's not who you think.
Oh.
All right, let's start off talking about the election.
Yeah.
And as we've just come off some fart noises and some cum jokes, all of my sources for this are the Washington Post and New York Times and Reuters. It's a challenge one to speak about, Cam, because you just kind of alluded to it's very fast moving and full of normal and probably, dare I say, far more qualified and able journalists than us.
Yeah, and it's, as you said, fast moving, and it just keeps changing, and I reckon I had a handle on this a couple of days ago.
Well, this morning I had a handle on it and it changed.
I'm not sure I have a handle on it anymore. So we talked a little bit in the last episode about how there's this narrative forming on the Trump side of things that the US elections have been stolen, and that they kept on pointing to all of this weird shit. I think we talked about, just the way that the ballots were coming in was always going to be open to them trying to say this sort of stuff. But then the little things on the ground that they tried to use, like there were people like fixing ballots so that they could go through the machine properly, and that was like evidence of the filling in ballots, like new ballots, and like just dumb stuff like that was so easily disproven. I can't remember if we talked about it, but there was like one thing I saw, which was just cops on the side of a road with piles of garbage, like bags of garbage, and they're like, these are Trump votes that they've found in a ditch that have been thrown away. And it's like, you can see like the Amazon boxes and the Starbucks containers through the bag, clearly just trash. Someone's done an Alice's restaurant, some fucking poor cops having to pick it up. Thanksgiving, during COVID, difficult at the best of times, but he's also gonna have to round up these tippies and take him in to see a blind judge. This got away from me. Lots of dumb little things, but there's sort of a larger narrative forming now, which we were seeing a little bit, but it's around Dominion was one thing, and Hammer and Scorecard was another thing, and I guess what changed today or in the last few days is that now they're all just sort of the one thing.
So what is Hammer and Scorecard was the kind of the first one?
Yeah.
What is that?
Hammer is a supercomputer, right, and Scorecard is supercomputer software, and that's what the deep state used to change the votes. So this is so weird because this was like this is the one that I was seeing like people on Fox News talking about, and it quickly became apparent that the guy that was behind it all was this huge con man. It's this guy called Dennis Montgomery, who has a long history of scamming the US government. He reckons he developed, like he created the Hammer supercomputer and the Scorecard software. And I think that this might have even been the like software that he used to scam the government the first time around, which was he had this claim that he could detect secret Al-Qaeda transmissions in like other broadcasts. So I think that Al Jazeera was the station. I think the idea was that Al-Qaeda was secretly sending broadcasts to their operatives in America through Al Jazeera broadcasts, like embedded in the signal. And he'd developed this way to detect that. But I also saw something about him coming up with a way to like track down people underground, like to be able to monitor Al-Qaeda operatives when they're actually underground using some sort of software. So
wait, when you say actually underground, you mean physically underground?
Like physically like to be able to see them through buildings and things, and this could be used to like direct bombs and whatnot.
Right.
What's your guys' understanding? Slight showy here, but what's your understanding of heat sensors in building? Like in RoboCop, where he just looks through buildings.
Yeah.
Is that what happens now?
Well, I mean, I'd say a large amount of my understanding comes from that Simpsons episode with the gummy
cooking chicken.
and the cooking chicken. Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this.
All right, we'll car park that one for a later date.
So anyway, this guy sold this software to the CIA and the US government back in the day, like I guess, post 9/11, when they were just throwing money at anyone. And I think at one point they almost shot down some planes over it. Right. I think they ended up grounding them. There was like one incident where a bunch of planes got grounded and they never said why. And it turned out because they reckoned they'd come up with some sort of secret transmission out of this stuff using this thing. And they're like, should we shoot these down? They're like, let's just land them and see how it goes. So that would have been interesting. But eventually they were like, this guy's full of shit. This doesn't work at all. There's no secret transmissions happening. And they gave him the boot. And he's popped up sort of every now and then over time. There was I think a racial discrimination case involving Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who is like an ally of Trump. He's like this dodgy sheriff, I think from California. He was facing some sort of racial discrimination claim.
I mean, he's basically famous for housing illegal immigrants in prison camps, right? That's kind of his thing.
Yeah. I think he's famous for a bunch of bad stuff.
Yeah.
And he got pardoned, I think, by Trump. Maybe.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
But
just bring up the details. Yeah, a very, very bad person. This was the kind of person, like, early in the Trump campaign, you're like, oh, maybe Trump's a little bit bad. He's doing things like this. Or maybe he's awful, he's doing things like this. And then, 4 years on, it's like, oh, I don't know, he's a Scaramucci level name where it came and went pretty quickly.
So, the way he tried to get Arpaio off was he had all of this evidence showing that Arpaio was innocent. And then I think that the evidence was just like hard drives full of Al Jazeera like broadcasts.
Right.
Like he just brought like stuff from his last con to his next con. And so I'm not entirely sure how that was supposed to help.
And did it help?
No, it didn't work. But yeah, he's been pinged on a bunch of stuff. He's gotten done for writing millions in bad checks. He's not like a reliable guy, but on Fox News and like One American News Network? That's not what it's called, is it?
OANN, whatever it is.
I think it is called that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
They just took him totally seriously. Have you watched much of this OANN stuff?
No.
I watched a little bit. I think I put a clip into our chat where the news host, the lady, didn't really seem to know how to talk. And the more I watched it, the more it sounded like it was like a robot. You know how like Fox News presenters kind of look somewhat alien in their way of like this super, almost like a movie, a movie where it's, Idiocracy style. This looks like that, but just shittier.
Yeah. That's the weird thing I find when I'm watching these broadcasts is it's like what the news in 2020 would look like in a movie from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like a dystopian sci-fi film. They're like, this is their parody of the news. And that's what we're actually living in. This is what Trump is like just consuming hours at a time.
Right.
Anyway, they're taking this guy completely seriously. Meanwhile, there's this other thing called Dominion, which my take on it was that it sort of came straight out of QAnon.
Well, I mean, Dominion is a company.
Yeah.
It does exist, and they do own voting machines, or sorry, not own them, but administer voting machines. They're a voting machine company that I think, and I don't know the complete details, but they're used pretty widely around the world.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different companies that do stuff with the voting machines, or they do like the things, just the software to not count the votes, but to display the votes.
Yeah.
That are all getting caught up in this, and they're like, this company did this, and they're like, we don't even count the votes. We don't touch a vote. We just, they send us how many votes everyone got, and we put it into our thing, and then you look it up on the website.
So the theory from a couple of days ago that was, and this has probably changed since then, but the Dominion ones, or maybe this was on a different, one of the voting machines was sending votes through Spain and Germany, and I can't remember if this was a legitimate news network that someone was talking on or InfoWars, but they were sending votes through, and there's three filters along the way. And like each filter would filter out different Trump votes. Like Trump vote might get through the first two, but it wouldn't get through the third one. And I think Dominion was who they were blaming for that.
And it's like, that's such a complicated system.
It's a very complicated system.
Like, why didn't they just need to knock it out in the first one? Also, this is supposedly, when they talk about like Hammer and Scorecard, they're like, oh, this is how Obama won in 2012. And so then it's like, so if they had this software, why didn't Hillary Clinton win in 2016?
So one of the things that's coming up about them at the moment is their Hillary Clinton funded them, and they're funded by the Clintons, Dominion. Like you know how they just kind of use word salad of vaguely connected things to say these are all related. And the evidence for that is Dominion donated $40,000 to the Hillary Clinton campaign in like 2012, the Clinton Foundation in 2012 or 2014 or something. And that is the evidence that people are using to say that the Clintons are funding Dominion. That Dominion gave them money and like a shitty amount, like $40,000. Like,
yeah,
in this world that is so minor, and if you were doing something nefarious with them, you just wouldn't have anything on record with them.
Yeah, I might ask for a bigger number as well if if we're just going to be deciding elections.
Yeah,
I've probably got a few people I need to keep quiet about this.
I need you to rig me the election, so give me $40,000 publicly. It's a bad way to rig an election. And also give me $40,000 publicly. Don't rig it for me. Rig it for some old Alzheimer's dude 6 years later.
But yeah, and that's the other weird thing. Like they talk about some of these like elections that are getting decided with this Dominion stuff, and some of them they're like Republicans are winning. Like not just the Trump one, but like in this one they're saying, oh, this state, they use Dominion. It's like, yeah, but a Republican one. So he's saying that like the wrong Republican one.
So the Germany part, have you guys seen the first time I saw this was InfoWars, but now this bit I've copied is from Reuters, where allegedly a server farm in Germany was raided, and the server farm was owned by Scytl, SCYTL, and George Papadopoulos, the former Trump campaign advisor, who's been convicted of Russian-related stuff, he tweeted out that the US Army has seized servers for Dominion in Germany, referencing Dominion Voting Systems, a company that supplies election technology. That tweet kind of blew up on cooked right-wing Facebook and stuff. But he was talking about Scytl, which is based in Germany. So like already the information is so confusingly wrong, but it just blew up so quickly that that's what people are running with. But
even when Scytl are like, no one's raided us.
Yeah, there's been there's no evidence of any raid anywhere. And I think they're like, we don't even have servers in Germany.
Yeah, they're like, we haven't been raided, we don't have servers in Germany, and we wouldn't, even if like we don't have any voting data on any servers, let alone in Germany, and let alone raided.
It's a weird thing, like it does echo the Clinton thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's a server, and the American army's raided and got that server, and that's where the secrets are. They're all hidden on that server.
They went in there with their boxy laptop and put out a big ribbon cable and stuck it in and hacked into the mainframe.
They had one of those keyboards.
Rollerblades.
Those keyboards that rolls out.
Yeah.
So that and that one, as I said, I first saw it on InfoWars, and now I'm reading about it on Reuters. I was reading a quote from some legitimate computer science professors who were saying there are questions around electronic voting, and Dominion is one of those things. There is concerns about their security flaws and their vulnerabilities, but this isn't what they're claiming. Like what they're claiming just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and it delegitimizes the actual concerns that we have.
Yeah,
where actual things could happen.
Well, yeah, I already had concerns about electronic voting.
I mean, I've got concerns about the entire US system of everything.
Yeah.
But this doesn't, what they're saying isn't what I'm concerned about.
No. And yeah, I mean, the concerns that I had about electronic voting, as someone who has to live in the empire, not that directly affected by it, was, it seemed like it was open to nefarious things, right?
Yeah.
Since we saw in 2000 how easy it is to sort of flip these things. Anyway.
That was, that was just done through the courts and voter suppression, right?
Yeah. But then after that, they were talking about, doing it all on computers. It's like, well, that would make it very easy.
But they tried that. That 2000 thing, the Florida thing, was bloody Roger Stone and a group of goons going and screaming and jumping up and down, and then some lawyers got involved, and then they're like, all right, we need to stop counting and discard all these votes. That's a very top line and probably somewhat inaccurate summary, and they tried that this time by sending people to polling booths and screaming and yelling and then demanding they stop counting. And like, I feel like the systems were in place to not let that happen again.
Mm.
But now they're just fucking plowing on through. That didn't work. Let's just make some shit up.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of the whole QAnon thing, the Pizzagate thing, where it's like there are a bunch of people that it's in their interest for us to not be worrying about the actual problem.
Yeah.
But here's like something made up that you can sort of go crazy about.
The one bit of kind of election fraud that still keeps coming around is the cover. Oh, there's two actually. There's one that they covered up. They covered up one of the counting centres with cardboard so people couldn't see them rigging the vote. And there's footage of people in a polling centre literally covering windows up with cardboard. But the reason they're doing that is because these crazy cooked right-wing dudes come and started screaming at the people counting the vote and watching them and taking photos and like just being almost awful, as we know, PK Truth or Pizza Gators. They love to go and scream and carry on. So they just try to like put cardboard up so they just keep these people out.
Yeah, and so they're not taking photos of us to fucking come and kill us later.
Yeah.
And that guy that showed up that they arrested like near the counting place with his truck full of guns, like I saw the the DA or whatever, they were like, you should be thinking of this as like an averted mass murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one is the 14% vote jump, which is one that Owen Schroyer on InfoWars he's been trying to coin this for a while and it's really not taking off, but he's not giving up. He's calling it vote Viagra.
Give us a boy-yo-yo-yoing, please, Salty.
I knew you'd be fucking wanted it eventually.
Then that is I didn't even write down where it was. It's one of the contested electoral districts.
Yeah. Hey, just on the side, did you hear Trump's latest press conference? Hey.
Oh my god.
It makes me coming in with vague details and not really being sure, but kind of getting through it just makes it seem so much worse when it's fun. Whichever election part, whichever county it was or state, it was, where the vote jumped for Biden, just leapfrogged Donald Trump in the middle of the night. And they're all sharing this kind of graph of that, the line going straight up. And Owen Schroyer, as I said on InfoWars, he's vote Viagra, and he's tried to get chants going during his travels around America to stop the steal caravans they're doing to rally the troops, and no one is interested in calling it vote Viagra.
They love that graph though.
They love that graph, but the reason for that graph is, and so you can see the Trump's ahead. And then in the middle of the night, 14. It's this one county gets logged, which is 14% of the vote for that entire state, and that's an inner city one. So I think 80% went to Biden. So basically, that all gets logged at once, and it all just goes straight up like that. You can trace the data for that, and all that's verifiable.
Mm.
But that's become a meme now of this is absolute evidence that how ridiculous. And Alex Jones is holding it up at his bloody crazy rallies that he's doing, and
the crazy rallies he's catching COVID at.
Oh yeah, that dude he's had some coffee moments lately. And so watching a lot of InfoWars lately, I had it on the background today while I was working, and it's all that kind of what's happening in the Fox News and the mainstream American media about all this kind of election fraud allegations and what the Trump campaign is alleging. It's just what Alex Jones is saying for 2 hours now.
Mm.
And it's really boring. It's really not exciting at all.
I saw someone say the other day, it's like these chuds don't have object permanence. They can't conceive of the idea that something happened overnight while they're asleep.
Yeah.
the vote change while they were sleeping. I reckon we saw that with Julia Gillard becoming Prime Minister too. Like, these guys just couldn't handle it because they're like, oh, I thought I knew who the Prime Minister was. Then I wake up and it's someone new.
What? The other one is Sidney Powell. Before we move on to the next topic.
Oh my God, what the fuck is going on with this?
So Sidney Powell is a lawyer who was had a stellar career involved in the Enron defence. Did she defend Enron or prosecute them? I'm pretty sure she defended them. But now she's popped up as a one of those Trump figures that just appears out of nowhere and then gets discarded by the Trump campaign immediately. So when we went to record this yesterday, she was definitely working with the Trump campaign.
Yeah, like they were saying it. They were saying she is on the campaign. She's one of our lawyers.
Yep. For the record, she was representing the Enron team. So
yeah, she is the author of a book called License to Lie, the true story of the strong-arm, illegal and unethical tactics used by headline-grabbing federal prosecutors in their narcissistic pursuit of power. I feel like Enron was pretty bad, right? I feel like I've fallen into some sort of time warp with this website that I looked this up on. I looked up Sidney Powell Enron. You know, like on a website they'll have, related stories or whatever, or like other stories.
Yep.
The other stories at the bottom of this are Obama's grab bag socialism and also the moral and cultural significance of Genie, You're Free.
What's Genie, You're Free?
You know, in Aladdin?
Right. Ah, right. Not really, but yeah, okay.
For some reason, these all of their related stories are from 2014. So this is like just after Robin Williams died.
Right.
Anyway,
so Sidney Powell, up until this morning, was, as we said, part of the Trump team. In recent times, she's been retweeting some of the big name original, the OG QAnon people. Your Tracy Beams, your Praying Medics. And she has been just getting on the cookers, just cooking things up all over the place.
Was she also maybe Michael Flynn's lawyer?
Yeah. She's part of the
And also, I think at some point, a guy called Michael Flynn was the lawyer of the Hammer and Scorecard guy. But I don't know if it's the same one. I don't think so, right?
I don't know.
Because he's a general. He's not a lawyer.
He is a general.
But there is a guy called Michael. I was like, there's too many Michael Flynns in this story. She's also contributed a big meme to the QAnon thing too. Because she went on the news and she said she was going to release the Kraken.
Yeah.
And that's like, now that's shorthand for, everything's going to come out. The Kraken in the QAnon world.
I watched her on Fox and she was talking about China and Venezuela and it's all connected. And like this was the first sort of actual thing I'd watched of her. I'd seen her name pop up. I started watching, I'm like, this is just straight, like, as I said, InfoWars stuff. Like there's no evidence. She's just saying random word salad. China, Venezuela, it's all connected to Biden and you can follow the money. And then I looked up and saw that she's a fan of QAnon people. It's like, right, that makes a lot more sense. So she was filing motions on behalf of the Trump campaign or getting involved legally somehow. And as of this morning, what happened?
The Trump campaign released a statement saying, Sidney Powell's not connected to us and never has been. She's just doing her own thing. And it's like, no.
We want nothing to do with this cooker.
This is gaslighting. She was 100%. There's tweets from days ago where they're talking about her.
So one of the big things that kicked off was Tucker Carlson invited her on the Fox News, his Fox News show, to show evidence. He's like, I'm going to give you a platform to show evidence, and she didn't. And she said, I'm not going to just take 10 minutes on a news show. I've got too much. And he's like, I'll give you a week. I'll dedicate a week of my show to you if you've got evidence. And now, because she doesn't have any evidence, and I think he thought she did. He was so faithful that she did. He's like, yeah, cool. He wasn't challenging her. He was encouraging her. She's like, I don't have anything. So then he's like, this sucks. This really sucks. I've been actually let down and I had faith in this. So now everyone's turned on Tucker Carlson, and he's being Pizzagated.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so like there's some evangelists and stuff talking about Tucker Carlson was like on record as going to Comet Pizza and eating pizza at Comet Pizza in like 2014. So now they're Pizzagating Tucker Carlson because he is like, maybe we need some evidence for this. And like, for people that know Tucker Carlson, he is just as cooked as the rest of them.
That's Pizzagate is good, I think, actually.
No, I love Pizzagate. But Alex Jones was somewhat disappointed with it all as well. This was before they disavowed her. He was like, I may actually think that Tucker Carlson's right, and maybe she should have, taken him up on the offer. He still thinks that Trump won, but this was 2 days ago that he said that, and then today he's like, Tucker Carlson's, I need to talk to him about this, and he won't talk to me, and we're big fans of each other, and we need to talk. I think he's wrong in calling her out. So even Alex Jones within 2 days has changed his tune on Tucker Carlson.
I've also seen the Q people are like, all right, so she's not representing the Trump campaign, she's representing us. We the people. She's just going in to bat on behalf of the American people to save President Trump. It's like, all right, good luck with that. And yeah, I guess the other thing that's been happening is that all of these cases they've been bringing just are getting shot down, like brutally.
Yeah, some of the one Rudy Giuliani was involved in Pennsylvania, like, was it Pennsylvania?
Yeah, one of these places.
It was basically like a brutal takedown by a judge just going, you are an embarrassment to you and everyone around you. Like, it was, I felt bad for the guy. I didn't really feel bad for him.
No.
Did you guys see his hair dye dripping down?
Yes.
No.
He's giving a speech and his hair dye is dripping down his face. And he looks like
Has he got like that spray and shit or something?
Yeah. It looks
spray on to make you look like you got more hair, and then it melts and drips down your head.
100% exactly that.
Right.
Not a great look. But also the way that it was like photographed, it looked like his face was coming off.
Yeah. The other thing that I saw about this was on that OAN network. What is that? What do we say? One American News.
Yeah.
They were talking about how elections could be hacked using the software. So they got in a guy called Ron Watkins.
Oh, fuck. I completely forgot about this huge thing that happened.
Cam, tell the listener who Ron Watkins is.
Ron Watkins is the son of Jim Watkins, who is the owner of 8chan and is probably the guy who posts as Q. Most likely is the most recent person who's been posting as Q. And yeah, Ron Watkins is his son, and they had him on the TV as like a computer expert.
Yep.
To talk about hacking. It's like his expertise is purely from running a child porn forum.
Yep. I got some quotes here, and like he's basically saying, it could happen, and I'm an expert, so I know. And he says, a lot of the data's stored on flash drives, and you could just swap the flash drive or edit the contents, or maybe someone could steal and switch them. Did you think about that? So what? That's nothing. What are you talking about? Of course, but that's not how this. I'm assuming that's not how it works, and that's not evidence of anything that you could. Like, it's just saying you could, steal a thing and put a different thing in its place. What?
Also, maybe that's how you run things in like your Filipino child porn factory with fucking zip drives. Yeah. But I'm not sure that's how they're running. The election hacking. I mean, the election.
He was also wearing He wears a giant cowboy hat, and it looks comically ridiculous. It looks like the hat that Homer Simpson wears when he goes to spy on the wiki. Yeah, so not credible at all, but being held up as, and it's just.
That video was retweeted by Trump.
Yeah. It's stunning how quickly it's all just, and a lot of the right wing senators. And the Republicans are kind of not backing away too far from all this. Like, they're kind of like, oh yeah, this is bad.
Yeah, I think we talked last time about how like the Mitch McConnells were being like, oh, we've got to respect the vote, and I feel like they're walking that back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe they're expecting after we say that, he's going to concede.
And if he doesn't concede and it ends up being a disgusting bloody takeover and he's in power, let's maybe not be on record saying anything too bad about him.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks, doesn't it?
It does. But yeah, so that's where we are. I've been asked this by like reporters and stuff. I'm sort of still pessimistic. I'm not an optimist. Like nothing in Western politics in the last 20 years has gone the right way. So why would this?
Yeah, exactly. Like Trump has said he was going to do this. He's doing it. His supporters are starting to get increasingly violent. Who was the Republican? Was he a senator or is someone that's calling for Kyle Rittenhouse to be in Congress?
Oh yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse is the 17-year-old that crossed state lines, got an illegal gun and murdered 2 people.
Yeah, and like, almost killed a third.
Almost killed a third.
And has just been released on bail, $2 million of bail that was crowdfunded by conservatives, and now also seemingly has a sponsorship deal with a coffee company.
You'd think that, but that's just been rescinded by that coffee company after criticism.
Oh, right.
But it's a coffee company that's all about like patriots and, veterans and stuff.
They're a very fashy coffee company.
But now they're being like attacked by the fashy supporters going, oh, if you want true fashy coffee, you got to go for these other guys, not these fake ones after they disowned the murderer.
Far out. They disowned the murderer after like they fucking loaded him up with merch and were like, this is our guy. What cucks? They're optics cucks.
Why is coffee, why are there fashy coffee brands now? You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird to me. If I'm shopping for coffee, I'm looking for and I guess in hindsight it makes a little bit of sense to them. I'm looking for like the most lefty coffee brand I can find. Like if I don't read the farmer's name on the pack and they don't tell me how much they're paying him, then I'm like, oof. And these guys are just like, you want coffee? You love guns? You want to do an army thing? Yeah, get this in here.
You don't give a shit where your coffee comes from? Well, our no, this is like the opposite though. This is not like someone who's like, I don't care where my coffee comes from. This is someone who's like, oh, my coffee has been picked by children.
Yeah. We found this beautiful farmer and his family who were making these beautiful beans, murdered them horribly, took over their farm, in the name of America.
Yep, and now we've put the flag on the packet of coffee.
Yeah.
But you see
the Confederate flag.
You see that like virtue signaling, right-wing virtue signaling all the time with it, like Earth Hour, they're like, I turned all my lights on. Yeah.
It's the left side is, should we do something nice for someone? Yeah, that's good. And the right side is, oh my God, you are the worst. We should murder you for that.
Anyway.
That's
the election.
It might
fucked. Still up in the air.
By the time you hear this, it's probably changed.
Yep.
And also sorry for any inaccuracies about particular, congressman, Republican.
Anything we've said that's inaccurate is just because of how fast moving it is.
And also we don't live in America. You have many places. It's very confusing to us. You should have 5 states. It's so much easier.
All right. Salty, play us out with some sound effects and then we'll talk about Star Jelly.
Welcome back, everyone. What are we talking about?
We're talking about Star Jelly. Robbo, I don't even know how to talk about this. What's Star Jelly? No, don't tell us what it is. What do people think it is? What is it without telling us what it is? And then we'll talk about what people say it is, and then we'll talk about what it actually is. That seems like a good format to me.
Sure.
So Star Jelly...
Oh, but people don't know what it really is, so we're fine.
They might.
Star Jelly.
I think we kind of know what it is. But basically... people keep finding weird jelly-like substances of all shapes and colours.
In the woods.
In the woods. A lot of them are connected with UFO sightings.
Yep, lots of them connected. There's a lot of magazines sort of lying around on the grass.
Whoa, that's gross.
That's what people do in the woods, mate.
Is it?
You just take your phone out there, right?
Star jelly, also known as astromixin or astral jelly.
Right.
Yeah, so basically around, places where there's UFOs, in jungles, you'll find, random deposits of mysterious goop. There are many examples of this through the years, but I didn't actually note down the examples, but there's a whole Wikipedia page. You just read that from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I've got some other names for it.
That's important, though.
Yeah, top to bottom for sure.
Star slime.
Yep.
Star slough.
Yep.
Star slubber.
Yep.
It's good.
Star slutch.
Yep.
Or no, but as they call it in Mexico, or in one place in Mexico, caca de luna, or the moon's excrement. I think that actually that means the moon's poo.
It does mean the moon's poo. It's been noted throughout history. One poem I noted down by Sir John Suckling in 1641 wrote a poem which contained the following lines: "As he whose quicker eye doth trace a false star shot to a marked place, does run apace, and thinking it to catch, a jelly up do snatch."
Oh.
I read that multiple times, and I mean, I don't know. I'm not very learned. I don't understand what he's saying there. He just
get some jelly up your snatch is what he's saying.
But they just mention it like as an example of this being mentioned in history, but I don't know what anything else he's talking about.
One of the other examples from history is a guy called John of Gaddesden. Like, this guy is from way back in the day. This is just when people didn't have a surname. Right. So this is, I guess this guy's like the Madonna of his day.
Yep.
But he was a English doctor, and he wrote sometime between his birth in 1280 and his death in 1361 about star jelly, describing a certain mucilaginous substance lying upon the earth and suggesting it might be used to treat abscesses.
Right.
Oh, right. So he just found it and he started putting it on wounds.
This is like...
That's how science is done, mate.
This is 1300s medicine where they're like, oh, we found some slime on the ground. Let's just slap it on a wound.
Yeah.
We don't know. We haven't... I guess at that point, in the year 1310 or whenever this is, they haven't tried slapping everything on wounds yet. So anytime they find something new, slap it on a wound.
Is this good for a wound? We've got some leeches next to it. They look a bit gross. We'll try them in a couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
Let's just use this jelly. There was one famous case over a period of 3 weeks. This is from the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki. If you look it up on the internet, there was this kind of goop that fell on an Oregon town, and people started getting sick afterwards. Now, the town is called Oakville. Was it even in Oregon? Anyway, the town's called Oakville. People started getting sick, violently ill. Another resident contracted a flu-like illness that lasted 2 to 3 months. Several cats and dogs came into the contact with the substance. Tim Davis, a microbiologist, believed he saw a eukaryotic cell, complex nucleus containing cells that are living in most living creatures. And this was just raining on this town. Like, this town was covered in goop.
Right.
One of the theories was that its origins owed to a naval bombing run at sea, which accidentally destroyed a school of jellyfish and sent their pieces flying into the atmosphere. And so, the theory was that they just blasted this jellyfish out of the water enough that it just ended up in the clouds, and then just dumped on this town for 6 weeks. The actual town, the verifications of the illness were pretty unverified, and there was a photo which was Oakville blobs on windshield, and then in brackets, reenactment. So there's no actual photo, but they had a reenactment photo.
Yeah. Where did they just make their own slime?
I assume so. I'm wondering if it was from the Unsolved Mysteries TV show was the reenactment. But yeah, I'm assuming, or they bought just slime from, you buy slime from a shop.
Yeah.
Like a kid's store.
Yeah. Sometimes marketed as like unicorn poop.
Oh yeah, is that how they market it these days?
Sometimes, yeah. If it's got some colours and some glitter in it.
Was it? There was a product called GAC when I was a kid.
Yeah, same thing, I think. Yeah.
Isn't that slang for heroin?
Yes.
Did people just sell me heroin when I was a kid?
And you just fucking played around with it. You could have been having a good old time.
Oh, misspent youth. They could have been mainlining.
You were just shoving your finger in it, going.
It also comes up in the Raelian religion,
right?
Where they, maybe this is the other thing. No, this is the other thing. Cut that, Luke. Did you guys have anything else on this space jelly?
I just saw stuff that made me laugh mostly.
Go on, Ben.
Like there was some people somewhere in South America or Central America talking to some. It looked like a Mexican rancher guy who had some come down at some point in the past on his ranch.
This was on Discovery Channel as well. This is serious.
Yeah, and they were like talking to him about what it was and stuff, and they're like, "Have you got a sample?" And we're sitting there watching it and going, "He's just going to bring out a jizz sample." And like he legit brought out like what looked like a human fluid specimen container that just looked like it was full of his own cum.
Yeah, it was
and just handed it over to them. It's like, it's just, what?
It couldn't have looked more like a semen sample.
Yeah,
Like
it didn't look like jelly. It legit looked like a jar of jizz.
And it was weirdly uncomfortable, and I think they seemed uncomfortable by it, but they were playing along because they were...
Yeah. This guy like totally hoodwinked them, got them like all excited about it, and he's like, this is going to fucking be hilarious.
I also liked, he seemed really well dressed. Everything he was wearing seemed very much brand new for someone that spent his life out in the jungles and tending cattle and dusty places.
Yeah.
And part of me hopes it wasn't a setup and he was just wearing some nice clothes just to prank the Americans with a semen sample.
I did see there was one Australian case of this that I found.
Really?
In Tasmania. They had a meteor shower, or just one meteor spotted at least. And the next morning, slime all over people's lawns.
Right.
It's like, is there maybe slime on people's lawns in Tasmania sometimes normally?
Why?
I don't know. Youths getting up to no good. Spew. People having a big night.
Just spew.
Snails.
Yeah, snails.
Yeah, snails do run fucking rampant, don't they?
Okay, so now that we know what it is, random slime falling from the sky, what do we have any actual explanations?
Well, the most common one that I could find is that it's got to do with frogs, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So animals will eat a frog.
Yeah.
Rip its guts open.
Yep.
Eat the frog, eat its insides, eat its eggs, and then go, oh, what is this? What is this shit that the eggs are in? And spit it out.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's just the goo from around frogs' eggs.
Yeah, so this is from Wikipedia. Observations made of star jelly in Scotland support the theory that one origin of star jelly is spawn jelly from frogs or toads, which have been vomited up by amphibian-eating creatures. However, no frog spawn has ever approached the size of some reported cases of star jelly.
Right.
Citation needed.
Oh.
Um,
Can we trust it then?
Well, I think it's the size is the thing we can't trust.
Yeah. See, a lot of the reports from Scotland, like I read a thing from BBC Radio Scotland about like sightings around there. a lot of them are like, oh, it was next to this swamp where there's heaps of frogs. It was in this field where there's a pond.
I was in this incredibly slimy place.
Yeah,
there's just slime everywhere of undetermined origin, and I saw some slime. Also, to dispute that theory, animal eggs are famously delicious.
Yeah,
it's a delicacy. Caviar, roe, eggs, as in literal eggs that we eat. I was watching an episode of Alone, the History Channel survival show, and this guy was just tucking in to the semen sacs of some fish and loving it.
I watched that just like yesterday.
That episode?
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say what happened to him next, so I won't. Nothing to do with that, by the way. It's what he's doing with the semen and then what happens to him later, unrelated.
Right.
Good season, that one, though.
Yeah, it's been pretty good so far.
Alone, History Channel. Tune in. Or SBS Catch-Up.
SBS On Demand, yeah.
Apparently, scientists commissioned by the National Geographic Society have carried out tests on samples founded in the United States, but have failed to find any DNA material.
So, if it comes from space,
are we talking about angel hair stuff as well?
Yeah, I think we'll move on to that next. I've got not much more on this.
There's a bit of a crossover here, right?
Yes.
Because there's like a whole bunch of different people and what they think the jelly is.
Yeah.
And Craig from Scotland reckons it's the gel used in chemtrailing.
Oh, I didn't see. I didn't read Craig from Scotland. I should have read more of him.
Now, do you remember when PK did a video about his apricot trees?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And he's like, fucking, they chemtrails yesterday, and now look at all this shit all over my apricot trees.
Yes.
And there was a bunch of shit on his apricot trees, right? Like white, stringy shit.
I don't actually remember that. I just remember him being unhappy that his apricots weren't growing.
Yeah, I'm positive that it was like, he's like, what's this fucking shit? And there was like stuff on there. And stuff across the grass somewhere nearby.
Right. I like this, Salty. So you're saying...
I'm sure I remember that being a thing, and I'm not crossing my wires in my brain. Because he was saying, yeah, look, this is all the shit that's left over when the chemtrails have gone by. And I think he went for a walk to a park nearby, and there was stringy shit on the grass that kind of just looked like spider webs.
Yeah.
But he was freaking out about it.
Well, should we move on to angel hair then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just say the one last word on star jelly is that also they have done tests on some of it and found like frog DNA.
Yeah.
But they've also, like, I think there's been a bunch of cases where they're like, well, there's a chemical plant that makes something down the road where when it gets wet, it goes jelly-like.
Right.
Or, this is just like stuff from batteries or...
Also, slime molds are like weird looking and like there are some really freaky things that happen normally in nature that are really cool and exciting. But, if you come across them, it's going to look strange.
Yeah.
It's strange to me, though, that these are all like the definition's common enough, the sort of unknownness of them is people are like, oh, then maybe it's aliens, and that's kind of permeated throughout the world where everyone's like, oh yeah, it's aliens. When it's just nature be slimy.
Nature do be slimy. I think it's just this is like one of those boring things where you notice, like when sort of two weird things happen together, you notice them more than you notice them separately. Like you probably see slime all the time, but when there's a meteor shower, you're like, slime in a meteor shower? That's odd, but it's like everything always be slimy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about angel hair.
What about angel hair?
Well, it's just spiderwebs, right?
So it's a similar thing, right? After events, people find like PK banging on about chemtrailing and stuff. They find this white stringy stuff across the fields and stuff that kind of dissipates quite quickly, as spiderwebs are known to do when they get blown away in the wind or destroyed by someone walking through them.
They also reckon it shows up when there's been like a sighting of the Virgin Mary.
Right.
She's like rocked up. And next minute there's spiderweb stuff everywhere. I mean, angel hair.
I think the Raelian religion sees it as a sign from one of their gods. I remember reading about Raelians ages ago. Cam, do you know much about them?
Oh, just that it's like a UFO religion, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Scientology, but a little bit weirder, as in more into the UFOs and stuff.
All that I can ever remember about them is that their logo is like this. I think it's like a Star of David with a swastika in it.
Yeah. They also promote a liberal ethical system with a strong emphasis on sexual experimentation, engage in daily meditation, and hope for physical immortality through human cloning.
Right.
I think maybe we should look into the Raelians because there's a deep well in there as well. But yeah, they see angel hair as a sign. There are quite a few examples of it, mostly happening in places where lots of spiders exist. Australia and New Zealand have frequent cases by native species of spiders and introduced species of Linniphiidae. I'm saying that wrong, probably.
Right.
Unscientific explanations based on beliefs regarding unidentified flying objects include ionized air may be sleeting off the electromagnetic field that surrounds the UFO, excess energy converted into matter.
Yep, that'll happen.
I like that one. It's just so vague. Oh, it's excess energy that's just converted into matter. It's just too much energy.
Yeah.
And now it's matter. It's just science. Or the usage of UFOs of a G field would cause heavy atoms in ordinary air to react among themselves and produce a kind of precipitate that falls to the ground and disappears as the ionization decreases. That's all from Wikipedia. Yeah, it's just spiderwebs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No.
There are oh, sorry, go Cam.
No, I was going to say that's all there is to it. It's like, come on, guys.
There are a lot of cool, like, I remember reading these kind of, unsolved mystery books as a kid, paranormal books, and I always enjoyed reading this time in the 40s, frogs fell on some village, some town in America. How did that happen? That was always cool to read,
Yeah.
but none of them are really that verified.
We did an episode about raining animals, didn't we?
Yeah, maybe.
I think so, yeah. Possibly.
We didn't encounter the Oakville jellyfish that were blasted by the Air Force into the sky. Anyway, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Alrighty. Well, before we go anywhere, we have a few people to thank.
Yeah, we do.
We need to thank Tammy, our cooked $33 sponsor. And we're also going to thank Vanessa, our other cooked $33 sponsor. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy and Vanessa. Thank you for being cooked enough to give us money, especially that much money.
And thank you to all of our other Patreon supporters as well. We really appreciate it.
There's a few newbies as well, right?
Yep. We
that might be getting their first news show.
Yeah, tune into the news show if you haven't before. We're looking at getting some more buttons happening.
Yep.
Based on some more recent shows, I imagine.
Yeah, we'll come up with some cool stuff.
We need to work out who still needs to get a pin.
Yep.
We just need to work all that out, and then we'll get stuff out.
Just looking at PK Truth, the PK Truth YouTube channel.
That's not him. Unless it's PK censored, I don't think it's PK him.
Right. Well, but PK Truth, which has 200,000 subscribers and all of his videos on it.
Mm.
Well, even if it's not him, if you go look at that one, the one that's PK Truth with the picture of fucking John Lennon or whoever it is.
Yeah.
The cover photo of that is a grassy field with all this white shit all over it.
Right. So that, I think, is one of his, debunkers.
Right.
Yeah, it's got 1.9 thousand subscribers, not 200,000.
Oh, I read that as 199k. But yeah, see the cover photo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think
I was remembering.
I think
right.
it's a. It's one that a dude that like doesn't like them and trolls them and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because PK censors it as PK's other channel now. Where he's doing live streams for patrons,
right?
And just biking around town telling people to take their masks off.
I like though that just looking at the channel, you could not tell that that's what they're doing.
Definitely,
it just looks as crazy.
I think that's by design.
Anyway, thank you to Tammy and Vanessa. Thank you to all of our Patreons. Robbo, where can they find you on the net?
At aleofatime.com.
And you've got a podcast coming up soon where you drink some beers?
It's kind of our podcast every week, but yep, we've got a podcast with Owen Johnson from Hop Products Australia talking about a new exciting hop, and we drink some beers with him and talk about that, which sounds pretty boring if you're not interested in beer, but if you're interested in beer, it's probably pretty exciting.
I was just making the point that you recorded that just before you recorded this. And so, listeners, if you were wondering who was drunk during the recording of this, it was Robbo, the most sensible one.
Not really. I had 3.
One girl wasted Robertson.
Hold my liquor. Salty, where do people find you?
AndrewSaltmarsh.com will get me all my links and like at Saltmarsh on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can get me at Sexenheimer on Twitter, Passaran on all the podcast things, my podcast about the far right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to just go into the news?
You stepped on his joke.
Sorry. Just cut out my track there.
Nah, I'm going to leave them both in. You stepping on someone's joke. We all knew Salty was going to do a fart at the end of the show, Cam. We all knew it.
Don't worry about a thing, except if all our world leaders are alien reptilians. I said don't worry about a thing, except maybe the fluoride in our water supply contains mind-altering drugs. Don't worry about a thing, except whether or not Port Arthur was a false flag operation in which to disarm Australia. I said don't worry about a thing. I accept you can definitely hear John Lennon say I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever. Ooh, don't worry about a thing, except not only did Bush do 9/11, but he also keeps the planes out in Area 51, which, let's not forget where all of the aliens are. Don't worry